Hey everyone, it's Robin, the Artsy Bohemian, coming to you from my studio in Los Angeles, California. Thank you for coming every Tuesday to see what I'm up to. And today we're going to make something so cool. This is not new, but I saw it on Pinterest and I had to figure out how to make it. And it's these roses. I know a lot of you like the neutral kind of shabby chic look, and I figured out how to make these watching different tutorials, looking at blog posts from years ago. I'm going to leave the links down below for the people that inspired me to make these. I kind of took bits and pieces from all the different things that I read and watched and kind of made it my own. But the gal who I was inspired by, her name is Monica, I believe. And she made this style and I just flipped. And I knew it was going to take a long time to make and I didn't care. So I'm telling you, these aren't quick. But I think they're so worth the effort. And her link was to an original video from Martha Stewart. So the pattern I'm going to give you a link to down below is on Martha Stewart. And so before I go any further, I just wanted to thank you guys. I had an amazing boutique last Tuesday. It's gonna probably be a monthly boutique. Basically, I'm selling lots of different things. Some of the handmade things that I make on YouTube. I'm cleaning out my antique and vintage dolls that seem to be very popular, like old German ceramic dolls. Most of them are miniature so that you can make jewelry with them. Just all, just a mixture of things. I had so much fun putting everything together. This past week, it literally took me all week just to upload all of the merchandise onto my Etsy store. Everything sold out within 15 minutes, except one thing. I have some tassel dolls still in the store, but they're newer, so they're probably not as, people don't like them as much. But, yeah, I think it's going to be a monthly thing. I just wanted to put that out there, so those of you who missed it know that I'll be doing this on a monthly basis. It's probably going to be somewhere in the beginning of every month. And I'll always talk about it at least a week ahead of time and let you know. All right, so also one other thing, I found out that my Bohemian Junk Journal class, one of the link wasn't working for the checkout page. So if any of you have had problems and didn't say anything to me, it's working now. And I apologize for that. I don't know how that happened. So, all right, so you're going to need coffee filters. These are using coffee filters. I ran to the 99-cent store and beelined in there because of COVID. I just put my mask on, knew what I wanted, and got out. So these are $1. You get 40 of them. And they're the cone style coffee filters, and they're white. And they're the number 4. I don't think it makes a difference, but I think the fact that they're flat like this makes a difference. I'm going to try to use the round ones that are a little bit more floppy and see how that works. I'm going to leave a list of things that you're going to need. I'm not going to say everything you need right now, but you do definitely want to start out with the coffee filters. I played around with these for about 2 days to figure out the best way for me to do it. And so that's what I'm going to show you. Because I found that the tutorials that I did find, they were super old. And that most of them were on blogs. And so they were very vague. It was kind of hard to figure out what they were talking about. So it took me a while to kind of decipher the code. And I did find a couple of YouTube videos. And again, very, very old. So I'm just kind of reviving it because I just thought they were so pretty. So the pattern is, I think it's like 7 pages long. And what I did was I made templates out of recycled cereal boxes. I printed out the pattern. I cut out each part of the pattern on paper and then glued it to some cardboard, you know, a cereal box, like I said, and cut those out individually so I have a sturdy pattern to draw around. And then I took the pattern, because there's these little ridges on here that show where the ridges are on the cone here, and I just line it up, and I take a pencil and just trace it on here. And then I'll stack about 3 or 4 of them all together and then cut them out. And there's going to be some leftover here. You can make leaves with that if it's small, or some of them were small enough, like the inner parts of the rosebud are small enough that you can put at least 2 of the larger petals, like these ones here, on the excess. And I thought it would be fun to kind of take all the little bits and pieces of the coffee filter and make like little fairy miniature roses. Because, you know, I don't like to waste anything. But so that's what you're going to do. And this was another vague thing. Everybody had their own reason for using a certain amount of coffee filters. I would just start out with, there's 3 parts to the center. There's a small, medium, and a large part. You're going to need 1 of these each to start with. That means it's doubled because the coffee filter has 2 pieces to it, right? So you're going to need 1 of those each. And then you're going to, the 4th one, everything's numbered, so this is the 4th petal. And this is the one I just did. It's on a fold here. You only need 1 of those. And then these are the ones you're going to cut out a lot of. And this is going to be your preference, up to you, depending on how large you want the flowers. So I'm going to show you when we put it together what I do. I don't make them really big because they start getting kind of out of hand and hard to handle. But in the template, the downloadable pattern, there's 3 of each of these, and it says 5 and 6. I still really don't know what that means. I guess maybe if you're going to use this size, you can do it twice. So it's the 5th row and then the 6th row. And then the same for this. This is the 7th and 8th row of flowers. I haven't done that. I have only used maybe 6 of these and maybe 6 of these. And I really love how full they are. So I didn't use a lot of the outer petals to get this look. And also, you're going to need a bamboo skewer. If you don't have one of these, you can use a chopstick. Most of the things are pretty much what you already have in your kitchen. You can improvise though. This is to curve the petals, and I'm going to show you this at the end here. And it also acts as a holder. We're going to decorate this. By the way, this is going to be a long video, so be prepared. It's not quick, but it's really worth it. I've made paper roses in the past, and I've done the really quickie ones, and I've never liked them. I mean, they're okay, but they're kind of like, but these are just gorgeous, I think, personally. Okay, I'm gonna keep, you're gonna need also a needle and thread, and this is another thing that different people use. I used a needle and thread because at one point, to get this color, you have to dunk it in a mixture of coffee. And, of course, it's soaking wet. And so you can put it on a skewer, which is what I did on this one. And I used this tape. and then wait for it to air dry, because you can't put this in the oven, because that's what I'm going to be doing with this. So because I wanted these to dry faster than waiting for 24 hours, which is what I did with this, just to experiment. I'm using a needle and thread, and that way I can pop it in the oven on a low temperature and then insert the bamboo skewer and decorate it afterwards. Let me know if you're interested in this technique. This is a little different. It's using the floral tape. I'm thinking of doing like a colorful one too. I saw on the Martha Stewart channel this gal who's no longer anywhere to be found. I couldn't find her website. I couldn't find anything on her anymore, but she just made these amazing lifelike paper flowers. Very time consuming because she painted them and then did watercolor on them. They were to die for. So if you want a video on that, I would love to do that maybe next week. So, and that's more in depth than it. I think she uses the floral tape. Okay, so that's why we're using a needle and thread to tie everything together while we add each petal. And it'll go in the oven, like I said. So I've already cut out what I'm going to be using for this as I show you. I'm going to get my needle and thread, have it ready. It's just regular thread, you know, that you use for sewing. And you might go, well, why can't you use glue? Because I'm putting in the oven. Everything is because I'm putting in the oven. If you're going to be letting it air dry, go for it. Use glue. Glue, it's going to be messy though. So the first thing you're going to do, here's all of the different petals. I put them in order here. And some gal also on one of the tutorials I saw, which was a really great idea. I think she was going to make a ton of them. She had cups and she numbered them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 for all the different sizes of petals. So you could do that too. And just, you know, just cut a bunch out and get them all ready, and you'll just be ready to go. I just put little numbers in pencil. They're going to fade because they're going to be at the bottom. I'm not going to see them. So that's what I did for these. All right, so the first thing you're going to do is you're going to take the number 1 petal. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of soften it so it bends a little bit easier. And I'm just going to kind of start pinching it in. Also, I kind of, this kind of drives me a little bit nuts, but the first few petals are tight because they're the rosebud and on the inside, and so they take a long time to dry. Can you tell I get in a hurry? I want things done yesterday. So they will soften up once they dry, but when they're wet, they take a long time to dry because they're tight inside there. So I kind of loosen up the leaves a little bit so they don't stick to each other, and I'm going to just start turning this in the center. This is fiddly. Just be patient. Give yourself a few practice pieces. So there's the first one, and I'm going to kind of pinch it here. About 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch from the bottom up. I already have my needle and thread knotted, and I'm going to poke a hole in the paper. And you do want a sharp needle. And then wrap it around a couple times. So it kind of looks like this. And one thing that was driving me nuts, but I'm going to tell you this because it's going to probably drive you nuts. It's not going to look, the way that it looks when it's done, when it's white, is not going to look the same way when you dunk it and dry it. It's just give yourself time. It's going to look super cool. It's going to be ugly, and it's not going to look like this at all until you wait for it to dry. It's going to just look all kind of tight and a little bit bulky. So I think I'd cut a bunch of these out for another. So I'm just going to do one of each. So there's 1, 2, 3 gradiated rosebud centers. Some of them I will tear, it just depends. I think I do that on the third one. And the same thing, I'm going to kind of season the paper, get it a little bit less stiff. Kind of like when you do this to ribbon, you know. And I'm going to start wrapping it. Now when you wrap it, don't go all the way to the bottom. This is always going to be a little bit higher right here. Because if it's down here, it's going to get sunk down. And you want this to be flush. All of the tops of the petals to be flush. So I kind of mess around with this part and see where I like it. I don't want all the tips to line up. So I try not to do that when I roll it. And if I don't like it, I'll just undo it and start over. Now when you're rolling it, you're going to roll it on the bottom here, kind of tight, and just gently hold it on the top. Just so you can kind of keep it in its shape. And I'm going to actually loosen it up just a little bit, like that. So it was a little tight, and I just loosened it just so that there's some room in there. And I might even poke this so that I can separate them. Now I'm going to bring the needle up. And go through all the layers. I noticed that when they dried, the centers were kind of popping out, so I just glued them back in, and that's okay. So all of the tips are fairly flush. Now I'm pulling this and just tightening it around. And now I am going to make a knot because I need to let my hands go. And I'm going to undo this one. Some of the other tutorials I saw, they would puncture the center of each petal, like in the center here. Some of them did it on the side. So like I said, I'm doing it a little differently. This usually frays, and if it does, I just rip the bottom off. So this should have been together because it was on the edge, but it didn't. I must have cut it too close. That's okay. So again, I'm just going to kind of coax it into this shape. And I'm going to look at the flower and see where I want the next petal to go, and I think it's right about there, kind of where the opening is. And I'm not starting down below here. I'm making sure that it's flush to the tops of the petals here. And I'm just going to roll it. I'm kind of pinching it as I go, pinching it on the bottom. And you're going to have to keep adjusting. And then I'm going to add this one here. This is the part that came off. And I'm kind of pinching it. And I'm going to take the needle and thread, oops. And going through all of the layers. Again, I told you this is not quick, but you're gonna love it. Keep going. Oops, I just poked myself. And you could make it like that. Wouldn't that be pretty? Like that, just on its own. So now we're going to add the fourth template. And this one, again, you will have to undo this. Because they're all connected. But it's on it was cut on the edge, the folded edge, so you'll have one continuous roll here. And see how it kind of frays like that? You could wet them, because I did do that. I tell you, I'm like a scientist when I do stuff like this. I try all different things. Of course, if you wet it, you have to wait for it to dry. So, wah, wah, wah. That didn't work. So see, if I go way down here, see how high the petals are? You want to make sure that they're up here. And you're just going to start holding it here and pinching. This one's already kind of folded, so I'm not going to do that little thing with the skewer. And just hold it up here on the top while you're rolling it and squishing it on the bottom. And you can scream because it's a little frustrating. And see what I mean? It's you wouldn't think that this is going to look like this. It will. Just keep going. I kept making it going, this is not going to work, this isn't going to work, this looks ugly, I don't like this, ugh. And I just thought, okay, just keep doing it. Just, you know, it has to work. It must look different when it gets wet, when you put the coffee on it, and it does. I just use the cheapest dried coffee, instant coffee that I can find. And I use about 2 tablespoons to get this light color in some water. And I just put it in a cup, like a big coffee mug. I can't tip it because it'll spill over, or a big bowl. If you don't like the way coffee smells, you can use tea. I don't know how much tea you would use. I would imagine like maybe 3 or 4 bags, maybe. Okay, we're almost done. So we have this. So now we're going to, this is where you can add as many large leaves as you want. And even if you wanted to add more of the number 4s, you could do that as well. It just really gets big and fluffy. So I'm going to start with the number 5s. I think these are the 5s here. And they're just a little bit smaller than the 7/8. So this is the 5/6 and the 7/8 are here. And you're just going to start adding these one by one. Pick the area kind of where you left off here. There's this gap here. And again, put it flush to the edges. And start kind of just adding them, overlapping them just a little bit. And just kind of gathering them at the bottom here. And then I'm going to tack those down with the needle and thread. And I thought, well, what if I took and cut all of these out individually if I wanted to make a really quick rose, and then I dried them in the oven on low, and that's what all of these little guys are here. And I'm going to show you, I'm going to finish this one off because it's a lot darker. It was a darker mixture of coffee. But that's another thing you can do if you're not going to make a ton of them. If you don't want to wait, you can cut out your pieces, spritz them with some coffee or dunk them in some coffee, put them on a baking sheet with either foil on the baking sheet or parchment paper, and put them on the lowest setting for 5 minutes. No more. You don't need more than 5 minutes. I spread all of them out individually. It took no more than 5 minutes on the lowest setting in my oven. And you can see this is getting a lot looser. So I'm going to do 2 more. I'm just kind of holding them all here at the bottom, making sure they're all fairly even. You know, nature is not perfect, so we're in luck. Oh, my needle came undone again. I should have doubled it. Try to hold this in place. So just a trick for you guys that I think you asked this one time. When I take a needle and thread, I push the thread in between my thumb and my index finger, so you can't even really see it, and it kind of squishes the thread, and then I'm able to thread my needle pretty quick like that. And then we're going to do one more layer of, see how pretty that is? That looks pretty. It's coming along. They look a lot nicer once you start getting the looser petals on. We're going to put the 7 8 on there of the petals. There's a full list of materials that you'll need down below. Where it says show more, just click that and you'll get the drop down of all the links for my websites and materials and my classes and my Etsy store and all the stuff that I do. Okay, so let's see here. This is the last outer layer. Same thing, I'm just laying them kind of side by side or overlapping them. So here's one, there's the number 7, and then I just overlapped it, and I'm just holding it on the bottom. It's overlapping that one, and just turning it a little bit, and overlapping this one, kind of twisting it at the bottom, and I'm doing maybe 1 or 2 more. And so they're going to kind of start flailing out. So just gently hold them on top like this and kind of twist the bottom. Just kind of squish it and pinch it. And we'll do one more round of the needle. And I'm gonna dunk it in the mixture of coffee. Obviously it won't be ready, so I have one ready to go. I'm gonna show you the few steps that you do after it's dried. Really exciting to see what it looks like when it dries. Another thing this one lady did, Monica, I believe her name is she added cinnamon and different spices, so that's why you get this kind of mottled, speckled look on here. It's kind of what primitive artists do on their dolls and stuff. Just wrapping the thread around here, kind of holding it in place, and then make a knot. Okay, so I'm gonna get my cookie sheet out with my parchment paper on it. Put my needle away. You can get parchment paper as well at the 99-cent store. Way cheaper than the grocery store. They charge you way too much money at the grocery store. Or you can use foil. I'm going to just kind of pour it in the center, and then I already have some cinnamon in this, but I think she used cinnamon in her mixture, as well as I'm just squishing it so that it doesn't become so saturated that it takes forever to dry. She also sprinkled some spices on her piece, so I'm just going to do that. This is like the cheapest cinnamon you can get at the grocery store in bulk. And it doesn't all stick, so it's kind of messy. Some of it did stick, but you know how cinnamon is. I think it's an anticoagulant or something. It doesn't stick to anything wet very quickly, unless it's soaked. Here's a little bit of allspice. Woo, that one came out fast. So you're gonna, like I said, you're gonna set this in your oven on low and just watch it every 5 minutes. It's gonna take longer than that because it's all rolled up and it takes a while to dry. I think it took at least a half an hour for them to dry. So if you're gonna make a bunch of them, you can just put them all on your cookie sheet and put them in your oven. And then when they come out, they look like this. And I mean, they don't look like this because I've already curled the ends, but I'm going to show you. I didn't finish. This is the one I did where I laid all the pieces out separately on the cooking sheet, and I let them dry quickly that way. So I just have the last 3 to do, 5 or 6 that I'm going to do on here. And then I'm going to show you how you curl them. And then we're going to decorate it. I have a couple of ideas. And these would be great for weddings. I think you could even make them smaller, and put them on, you know, your junk journal if you wanted to. And see how this actually, it stuck pretty well, the spices. So because I did these individually, they were a lot flatter. But when I dried these, they kind of curled on their own, and they did this cool thing where they left darker spots on the tips, like here. So it's a different look. This, I like this one, but this is my favorite. It just looks more realistic, like it's an old rose that's been around for a long time. But I thought I could still show you the curling technique. It's the same thing I did on these ones here. And actually what I did was I kind of cheated. Before I added the extra leaves, I curled these ones in the center because they're kind of hard to do. In fact, I didn't really curl them on here. They still look realistic though. Mostly all of the outer leaves are curled. Okay, so look at how pretty that looks. So now what you're going to do is you're going to curl the leaves to make them look realistic. And this is where the skewer comes in. So you're going to take the skewer, and on each part of the petal, maybe I'll show you on an individual one so it'll make a little bit more sense. Let me see here. So on the petal, there's the sides that curve, and then there's a little point. These are the outer petals. You're going to take your skewer on a diagonal and hold the very edge of it and just twist it down like that. So you'll get this nice twist like roses do, and the same on the other side. So just practice if you don't feel comfortable doing that. And that's what you're going to do on all of this. Isn't that amazing? And because coffee filters are so sturdy, you don't have to worry about it ripping unless you're really, really rough with it. But just keep doing that. And it, like I said, it is difficult to get on the inside, but I cheated on these because I put those in, you know, individually. And they were already dry. But I don't think on a real rose that the center ones are that turned in like that, so. And if any of the leaves start coming off, if they didn't get sewn properly, just glue them. That's all I did. I had a few of them fall off, and I just glued them with some tacky glue. Because you don't have to put them back in the oven, and it's kind of relaxing. And I don't mind spending the time on something when it looks this beautiful, when the results are like this. I can't see myself selling them because they take a long time to do, but if I think the gal that was on the Martha Stewart program, she was selling them for a lot of money, and it sounded like her target market was the brides. So I think at the time, this was several years ago, she was selling them for $75 individually and like over $200 for a bouquet. But they didn't look like this. They were a lot more involved. She's the one that did the painting on them. They're just absolutely stunning. They'd probably go for a lot more now, and I can see why. They're they do take time. So, but in the end, it's so worth it. And like I said, this isn't the color I would probably use. The mixture was a lot darker on this one. And then you're just going to keep kind of like, futzing with them. Roses aren't perfect. And so, just kind of look at them and see how you like them. Like this one, I think I'd put a lot more of the outer petals on. And then you can glue them in, if some of them are flailing out, you can glue them if you want to, and a little bit tighter. And I'm going to show you how to, my theory anyway, on how to decorate the stem. So the trick is just making sure that you hold this while you're turning it. So you're holding the bamboo skewer to the very edge and the very edge of the petal, and then just turning it, rolling it onto the skewer. So I think that's pretty good on that one. So you can see there's a difference in the colors. It'd be kind of nice to have a variety of them though, I think, if you wanted. Do you guys love them? Let me know if you love this. I love these. I love roses anyway. I have a thing for roses. It's probably because of my grandma. She loved roses. They're my favorite flower, I think. I love roses. I also love nasturtiums. I love sweet peas. And I do love peonies as well. I like lots of flowers, but I think roses are my most favorite. All right, so what I'm going to do is I am going to decorate. So I had some ideas. Again, because there were so many variations of the tutorials that I saw, I kind of like the ones with the floral tape. I don't love them. I like the ones that, are a little bit more eclectic. So I thought it would be fun to take ticking and wrapping it around the bamboo skewer. So for like this one here, maybe. I'm not sure I'm going to do that. But it's an idea for you to think about as well. First, what you need to do, though, is you do need to take some kind of tape. Not Scotch tape. Maybe, not like, the clear tape. You can maybe use masking tape. I couldn't find mine. So I thought maybe some washi tape would be kind of fun in the same color palette, the neutral. This is also tape you can find in the medical supply area of like a drugstore. It's kind of a fabric. So I might do one layer of this on there. I believe you can find white floral tape as well. So I'm just being very firm with this. Going down. just going to cut that. Because I'm going to cover it with some fabric. Washi tape would work. You know, washi tape doesn't stick all that well, but let's try it with some washi tape. So what you do is just stick the skewer up there, and you can glue it if you want to. I think I probably will. Maybe I'll put some tacky glue in there. That's what I did on this one before I shot the video. A few years ago, I was doing a craft show. It's one of the best ones I've ever done. And I've done it for several years. It's called Glitter Fest, and there was these gals. I think they were called Magnolia, Sweet Magnolia or something like that. And they always had these amazing glittery paper roses, and they always sold out of them. People loved them. So this kind of got pushed up. I'm going to glue that down at some point, the center of the flower. And then I'm going to use, maybe I'll put a little bit of glue on here just to make the washi tape stay. But anyway, the flowers sold like crazy. And they were, you know, they weren't selling them for very much, and I knew they took a long time to do. They're kind of like this. They weren't as ornate. They were more of the rolled kind of roses, but they had tons of glitter on them. I believe she used glass glitter, which is kind of expensive. So that's another option. So yeah, this is the Tim Holtz, you know, washi tape that he has. This is cute. Do a little bit more up here. Yeah, I would love to do the watercolor rose that one gal did. Like I said, if you guys are interested, let me know. They're very realistic. They look like real roses. Even Martha Stewart was tripping out. I'll leave the link down below for the video. So, masking tape, the medical tape, I guess it's some kind of bandage, and washi tape. So in any one of those will probably work. And then let's see what some of the ticking. So this is ticking that I had dyed a while back. And I'm not going to secure it because I just kind of want to see. I think it's going to look cute, but again, you're just, when you're doing this kind of thing, it looks easy, but you have to really hold it tightly. If you just kind of like loosely put it on there, it's going to be flippy floppy and it's not going to stick. So if you've ever made lampshades, it's kind of the same thing when you're covering the struts. So let's kind of put this up at the top here. And then, so I'm pulling it real tight, and then I'm going to put it kind of on a diagonal. And it's, you have to, if this is cut on the bias, it's better, the fabric, because it'll stretch, but this isn't cut on the bias, so we'll see. It'll be, it might be kind of bunched up. So I'm kind of trying to keep it on the diagonal, because this twill tape, I believe, is cut on the bias. Maybe it's not. Yeah, I think it is. This is the twill tape that I had dyed also. These were in each kit that, or each package, almost every package that I sent out last week from the boutique had 2 yards of this. Not the dyed one, just the plain colored one, which looks like this. Old cotton twill tape. So this would be very cool to use too. You could use Hug Snug. You know, everybody has that. So yeah, I'm pulling this really firmly, and I'm twisting it at a diagonal. So hold the fabric and then twist and hold and twist and hold and twist. And I'm pulling this way when I'm doing this. Be cute to make leaves out of the ticking too. So I'm going to just start putting a little bit of, maybe a little small bits of hot glue to make it stay. And little parts. Yeah, that's cute. I like that. So you can buy ticking at any fabric store usually. This is a thicker kind of cotton ticking. It's not the sheeting kind. It's actually dyed in the fibers of the fabric. My husband was a shoe designer for Tom's, and I believe this was leftover fabric from one of their projects. So that's cute. I like that. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do at the bottom just yet. I'm just going to leave a tail down there. And then I have some pieces of lace here that I'll just kind of maybe tie some little streamers on the top here. And maybe I'll do a little bit of the dyed twill tape and a little bit more of the, here's a strip of the ticking. So one tip when you're using lace, try to use laces that drape well. Organza does not drape well, like the synthetic organza. If you have really old Swiss organza, that drapes well because you can kind of crinkle it. But most of the time, any kind of synthetic ribbon won't have a nice, it won't articulate well. Cheesecloth works great. In fact, I should grab some here. Let's see here. So we'll start off with those. I'm going to grab a little bit of cheesecloth. So I think I'll start with, cut this off. I might start with this to begin with. This is just some sari silk that has some trim on it. I got lucky. I've never seen this before. I found it, most of you guys know this vendor. She's on Etsy. I don't know if it's darn good yarn. It might be, but I think it's another gal on Etsy that everybody uses for sari silk. If I remember, if you need, and I don't, if I forget, just ask me. I'll find the resource for you guys. But I don't know. It's one of those things, I think she just had it and then it was gone. It was, you know, it's kind of fluke. Because, you know, sari silk, you can't... It's going to be different all the time because it's from old saris. So... So this might become too bulky. I'm just kind of playing around because you guys always ask how I make stuff, and so I tend to just skip stuff because I think it's boring. To me it's boring, but apparently you guys like to see my thought process, so. And I always like using some kind of transparent so what I did was I used the more opaque pieces on the bottom that don't have as much interest. If I had put this on the bottom, you wouldn't be able to see it because it would have gotten lost. But because it's see-through, I can still see everything else that's attached to this. This looks like a wand to me. So I have some little bits here. You can use, you can sew this down if you want to and tack it down, or you can use old rusty safety pins or bulb pins. I have some rusty bells here, which the next boutique I have, I'm going to have little rusty kits, things with rusty items in them. You can put buttons on here if you want to. So, let's see. What am I going to do? I have this old pearl. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of squish this piece of lace onto this little bow I made with some excess ticking. And I'm going to tack that down because I like it bunched up like that. And I have my needle and thread. Every time I put my needle down, I always knot it so that it's ready to go for the next project. Those of you who sew probably do that. I'm not telling you anything new. And I have a little gift. If you have never taken any of my classes, I have a resource guide that I'd like to gift to those of you who watch my YouTube channel. Most everybody who's taken my classes already has the resource guide, but I'd like to give you a resource guide for paper crafters. It's my coveted resource guide, and it also has a list. I think this one has a list maybe of some of the flea markets and stuff that I go to in LA. And also online. And that'll be there'll be a link down below for that. So I could put a button here if I wanted to, or I could put a bell. I think I might add a bell here. This is a little bit too big. I like this button. Yeah, I like that one. I think I'm going to do that. So, let's see here. So some of these might be included in the next boutique as well. I kind of have a hard time selling some of these things, but it's kind of interesting. There's, like, my journals are really hard to sell. I've kept pretty much all the journals that I've made. My paintings are hard to sell. In fact, I don't sell them. I keep them. They're in my house. But I don't have a hard time selling my jewelry at all. I think it's because I've been making it for so long that I know that I'm selling it. So if I make something with knowing that I'm going to sell it in the end, I don't think I have such a hard time. Let me know if you guys feel that way about what you make. What things are hard for you to sell. So I'm kind of tacking this down instead of gluing it. You could glue it if you want to with some hot glue. I might wind up, I'm just probably going to tack it, and then I might glue it a little bit just to keep everything in place. Yeah, I think I'm going to do that. So it's kind of staying in place, and then I'm going to hot glue the underside. Isn't that cute? Let me know if you guys like this project. I really liked it. I think it'd be fun. Like I said, wouldn't this be a cute little gift for one of your friends? They could put it like in an old bobbin if you'd made it shorter. But it'd be fun just to add to, you know, your decor. You could make a bunch of them and put them in a rustic kind of a basket or vase. Alright, everybody, thank you so much for watching. If you're new to my channel, make sure to subscribe. All you have to do is hit the subscribe button, and there will be a bell, the shape of a bell icon. Click that, and then click all, A-L-L. If you don't click all, you won't get notifications of my videos. And as always, check out my online school. I'm going to be adding more classes this year. I just haven't had a chance. Look at how cute that looks. I'll have a link down below. I have a great journal class with over 20 hours of content, and I show you from start to finish how to make your own junk journal, bohemian style. Thanks so much. I will see you in the next video.